Ladies and gentlemen, we have 24 hours in a day, and we know we have 7 days in a week. That gives us 168 hours in a week. If we follow scientists who require us to sleep for 8 hours a day, 56 hours of the 168 hours we spend sleeping. If we follow organizations that give us standards for working 8 hours a day, which normally we do way beyond, we are spending 40 to 60 hours a week in the office. So what happens at the office with colleagues, what happens among us, is an essential part of our life, and it stays with us forever. That's why today, 22nd April 2026, we mark Kwibuka 32, the 32nd solemn commemoration of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, observed where we observe during 100 days of national mourning. The United Nations family in Rwanda gathers today to remember our colleagues who were among more than 1 million Tutsis killed during those 100 days under the enduring theme, Remember, Unite, Renew. We gather to mourn. We gather to honor, to bear witness, and to reaffirm our shared responsibility to ensure that such atrocities must never happen again to anyone, anywhere in the world. Allow me to begin by expressing sincere gratitude to the government and the people of Rwanda, represented here today by our esteemed guest honor, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Your presence is deeply appreciated and truly meaningful to the UN family in Rwanda. Rwanda has shown the world that even in the aftermath of unimaginable tragedy, a nation can choose unity over division, reconciliation over hatred, justice over impunity, and hope over despair. That choice, made under the most difficult circumstances, stands as Rwanda's enduring gift to humanity, a lot to be copied anywhere else in the world. I would also like to acknowledge, with the deepest respect and heartfelt gratitude, the survivors of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi who are here with us today, including Ibuka. This is an organization of survivors whose very name means remember. In Ibuka, I remember, in Kinyarwanda. You carry wounds that the world cannot fully comprehend. You have lived through loss that no words can measure. And yet, with remarkable strength and resilience, you have rebuilt your lives, your families, and your communities with dignity and with purpose. We stand in solidarity with you, and we say, Turikumwe, we are with you. I also extend my heartfelt appreciation to the families of our fallen UN colleagues who are with us today. They are not just colleagues. They were mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, sisters and brothers. They served this organization and the people of Rwanda with dedication and humanity. Their names are remembered, not only on the memorial on where we will lay our wreaths later, but their names are remembered in our hearts. Their service is honored, their legacy lives on, and it lives on every day and in everything that we do. I also wish to express my sincere thanks to their excellencies and ambassadors, high commissioners, and representatives of the international community for joining us today on this solemn occasion. Your presence affirms that remembrance is not Rwanda's responsibility alone. We remember together, and this remains a shared commitment. Thank you for always joining the UN family during this period of Kwibuka. Honorable Minister, Your Excellencies, survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, 32 years ago, in just 100 days, from 7th of April to early July 1994, more than 1 million Tutsi were systematically murdered in Rwanda. This was not an accident of history. It was not unforeseen, nor was it inevitable. It was a genocide, planned, incited, and executed. It began with words, the propaganda, and with dehumanization. This was not a war nor a conflict. It was a planned and systematic murder of a group of people. We must say this with clarity and absolute humility. The international community failed Rwanda. General Romeo Delay, the UN force commander in Rwanda, sent urgent warnings to United Nations headquarters months before the genocide began. Those warnings were not acted upon with the urgency they demanded. The United Nations acknowledged this failure. We keep acknowledging this failure. And it's by no means a way that it can serve as a consolation, but it's as a way for us to be determined that never again is not just words. It's actually something that is deeply meant. That acknowledgement must continue to guide us, not as a source of shame alone, but as the foundation of a renewed and unbreakable commitment. Never again, not just as a slogan, but as a living obligation. Honorable Minister, Your Excellencies, survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the story of Rwanda since 1994 is one of extraordinary resilience and transformation. Through visionary leadership, the strength and determination of its people and institutions grounded in unity, Rwanda has rebuilt with the deepest wounds. Rwanda's journey teaches us that reconciliation is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of courage. Unity and reconciliation are not defined by sorrow. They are defined by strength. The philosophy of Ndi Umunya Rwanda, which means I am a Rwandan, has anchored national unity in a shared sense of humanity rather than division. And the Gacaca courts, the community-based system of justice and accountability, have played a vital role in fostering truth, reconciliation, and healing across the country. These are not merely policies. They are Rwanda's answer to the world. Deliberate homegrown choices to rebuild a nation on the foundations of unity and dignity. Honorable Minister, Your Excellencies, survivors, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and yet, as we reflect here today, we also must look beyond Rwanda. We live in a world where conflicts are rising, where division is deepening, where misinformation, hate speech, and intolerance are spreading, often amplified by digital platforms that reach millions in seconds. The lessons of Rwanda remind us that genocide does not begin with guns or machetes. It begins with words, with exclusion, with dehumanization, with the slow normalization of hatred. We must be willing to name these dangers. We must confront them, and we must act early, decisively, and together. As Rwanda has shown the world, the path to peace is not easy, but it remains the only path. Honorable Minister, Your Excellencies, survivors, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we must also be unequivocal. Genocide denial is not a neutral position. It is an act of violence against survivors, against the entire nation. The United Nations General Assembly has formally recognized the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. All member states, all institutions, and all individuals share the responsibility to uphold that historical truth and to reject, without compromise, any attempts to distort, minimize, or deny what happened in Rwanda in 1994. As the United Nations in Rwanda, we reflect today with humility and resolve. In partnership with the government of Rwanda and with the Ministry of National Unity and Civic Engagement, Minibumwe, we support efforts to promote unity and reconciliation, strengthen social cohesion, advance inclusive development, and ensure that the memory of the genocide continues to educate future generations. We recognize that healing is an ongoing journey, that intergenerational trauma is real, and that Kwibuka, remembrance, is not confined to a single moment, but it is a responsibility carried each and every day of our lives. So the youth of Rwanda, you are the pillars of now and tomorrow. You did not live through 1994, yet you carry its memory, its lessons, and its call. Your generation stands as a living proof that renewal is possible. Mukomere, be strong, the world needs your examples. Honorable Minister, Your Excellencies, survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the 32nd commemoration calls on each of us to do three things. First, remember, so that the truth of what happened is never erased, denied, or forgotten. Memory is protection. Second, unite, so that the seeds of division are never allowed to take root again. Unity is the foundation of peace. Renew, our commitment as individuals, as institutions, as a global community to prevention, dignity, and shared humanity. Let this not be a moment of remembrance alone, but also a moment of renewal. For remembrance without action is not enough. We owe this to the victims, we owe this to the survivors, we owe it to Rwanda and to humanity. May the memory of those we have lost guide us. May the resilience of survivors strengthen us. May the courage of Rwanda inspire us. And may our collective resolve help ensure that such a tragedy is never repeated anywhere in the world. As I conclude my remarks, I really want to take note to thank our colleagues from the RCO and all the UN agencies present, FUNSA, that have organized this event. It is indeed such a solemn event. I am sure many of you will attest. You feel a certain heaviness in your heart. You don't have to be in Rwanda to have experienced this. You don't have to be a Rwandan to experience it. But these events really remind us, and they leave a heavy feeling. I end by saying that heavy heart, that heavy feeling we have should inspire us and make us committed wherever we find ourselves in the world working, that we say never again. Murakoze chane, turukumwe, mukumere, thank you.